going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal SpazPhoenix, the YWC reality check with a late night Raw review. As you can tell, my voice is already shit. So as the promise usually goes, this video will probably be short. Now that being said, because I've said that, it'll probably go really, really long. Just, if you're wondering, a little barrier, a little, I don't know, bearing on what time it is. It's 10 to 2 in the morning. And I just finished arguing with a bunch of people about Raw because a bunch of people are shitting on Raw recently, let's be honest, because this didn't go that way or that didn't go that way, and I'm only watching, you know, the show for this guy or that guy, and until this guy or that guy is the champion, whatnot, then I'm just gonna shit on everything, you know. Why my phone? Why? Just why? I'll admit, there's a lot of shit on this show tonight. This show, I'm not going to come up like I did last week and say this was a fantastic show. Last week's I did think was a fantastic show, and I got my head bitten off for it. This week, I will admit, it's a mixed bag. There's a lot of great stuff, and a lot of stuff that gives me hope moving forward, and there's a lot of shit. And we will get there. Before I go to anything else, check out Wrestling Paradise. I wasn't there last week because of internet issues on my end. I think Preston took up my place on the show. I'm sure they knocked it out of the park. I'll be honest, I was away most of the weekend. I didn't get a chance to see it. I will, and I'm willing to bet that because it's Deluxe Man and because it's Preston, they knocked it out of the park. Whatever. Go back a couple of videos, you'll see that I am asking for questions for my November Q&A. Please put your questions in the comment section of that video. That being said, going on to the October 8th Raw review. Fuck, this is going to be painful because I'm tired. Cena comes out to start the show, because, you know, that's not a sign of, you know, hashtag same old shit. Says, you know, it's been a while since he's been here, because he was gone 1 week, and a lot of things have changed since I've been gone in 1 week. Takes a lot of cheap shots at the new tag team champions, takes a lot of cheap shots at the tag team division, takes a lot of shots at Antonio Cesaro, who's the current US champion, and attacks basically anybody that's relevant in the Divas division. Way to go, John. Announces that Vince McMahon will be here later tonight for his State of the WWE address, kisses a little Vince McMahon ass. Announces that Arnold Schwarzenegger will be on Twitter as their multimedia ambassador tonight. Don't know why. You know, kisses his ass for a while. Shits on Punk a lot with nothing that we haven't already heard before. He tells the crowd that even though they are loud and opinionated, they don't have a voice. Because the guy who was supposed to be their voice of the voiceless was a fraud and Now, I don't care what context you say this in, for John Cena to come out as sort of the figurehead, the golden boy of the company, and tell the crowd that they have no voice. I mean, you, me, or anybody else watching this video knows that we really don't have a voice. But to go out into the crowd at the live event and tell them that they don't have a voice, that's a dumbass move. I don't care what your opinions on John Cena are, but that's a dumbass move. And then he goes on for about 3 more minutes, wah, give me another match, you know, one more match, doing his best Christian impression. Moving on. Ryback is coming down the ramp for his match as Cena's going off. They have a little stare down, whatever. They have the flashback of Ryback saving Jim Ross from Punk, and it's all fine and wonderful. By the way, the commentary team tonight was Michael Cole, Jim Ross, and JBL. I'm a happy kid. Not a happy kid about the next match, however, though. Ryback versus Epico and Primo in a handicap match. There's a lot of fun double teaming from Epico and Primo. Ryback hits that backpack stunner thing that he does in several meat hook clotheslines. Hits the double shell shock, and Ryback gets the win. And we are reminded once again that McMahon will address the WWE Universe shortly. Now, next match up is supposed to be Brodus Clay versus R-Truth, who announces out of the blue that little Jimmy has hit puberty and he'd rather dance than have a match. So they dance around like idiots for a couple minutes, and thankfully, thank God, and in this case God is Vince McMahon, comes on the Tron, basically tells them to leave the ring because he's going to make his State of the WWE address. Vince comes out, says there's room for everybody in the WWE, from grown men to invisible kids to trolls to giants to and the most important thing is action, competition, champions, and respect. Respect obviously brings out Punk. Punk does his usual speech about not getting respect, this sort of thing. You don't know what Vince, you don't know what people want to see. I won't face Cena, and it is my choice. You know, Talks about how the people in the back don't respect him, talks about how the crowd doesn't respect him, talk about how the announcers, etc. don't respect him. Vince, do you respect me? Vince says 323 days is amazing, but you've also proclaimed yourself to be a Heyman guy, therefore I am not a CM Punk guy. Punk says you should be a Punk guy, you should be a fan, I'm the best thing in your company, I've been the champion for this long, if you don't, I can speak, I swear. If you don't give me the respect I deserve, I will leave the company again, and then we'll see what happens. Vince says it's not you or me or anybody in the back that makes us a success. It's the fans that make us a success, and the fans want you to shut up. You're not one of the greats like Bret Hart, like Shawn Michaels, like Andre, like this, like that, like the other thing. And then the last person he names is obviously Austin, because everything WWE is doing right now is to play towards Punk versus Austin like it's ever going to happen. Punk basically fires off with, Austin got famous by kicking your old decrepit ass, more or less. And then he asks Vince, am I under your skin yet? You've been disrespecting me for years, and now it's my turn to disrespect you. Slaps Vince McMahon to the ground. Oh yes. Vince loses his shit. I can't make you take the world title at Hell in the Cell, but I will say I will fire you tonight if you don't fight me. He accepts. Heyman freaks out. Punk says to Heyman, everything will be fine. We move on. Primetime Players versus Rey and Sin Cara was nothing special, really. It was like the tag team equivalent of a sparring match. Sin Cara hit a nice suicide dive on the outside on Darren Young, and Rey hit the 619 and a splash for the win in a very, very sort of lackluster match, but it progressed the tournament, so it's all good. Punk and Paul, I don't want to say Paul Bearer, I swear. Punk and Paul Heyman are in the back. Paul's very worried. Vince McMahon can make our lives hell from now until forever, Punk starts boasting, this, that, and the next thing. We move on. We go on to one of my favorite segments of the night, which is Wade Barrett versus Sheamus. Oh yes, 10 seconds into this match, the Big Show enters. He's sitting by commentary. He's watching the match. Wade and Sheamus brawl for a long time. Sheamus rides like 3 or 4 headlocks, which takes up like 3 or 4 minutes of this match. From then, Wade owns Sheamus with elbows in the corner. Wade sweeps Sheamus on the apron, which is a dirty looking spot, because we all know it's all been driven into our heads a million times. Anybody that listens to Taz and TNA, the outside corner of the ring is the hardest part of the ring. Wade kicks the steel steps into Sheamus' knees and shins, which is a nice looking spot. Wade hits a high knee to Sheamus' gut. Wade ties up Sheamus in the ropes on the commentator booth side, gives him the big boot out of the ring, which is great. Sheamus kicks into Superman mode, hits his 5 moves of doom. He's about to hit the brogue kick when Tensai comes out of nowhere, jumps Sheamus. Tensai and Wade Barrett beat the fuck out of Sheamus. Show comes in, Sheamus tries to brogue kick him, and Show chucks him out of the ring by his foot, which made me smile. I'm not a Big Show fan. You guys know that I am the furthest thing from being a fan of the Big Slow, but for the sake of putting the friggin' flaming mayo on his ass, it was a funny spot. Just saying. Jim Ross leaves the booth, says he's going to try and find Vince to talk him out of this match tonight. Punk's in the back. Punk's trying to say to AJ, what's going to happen to your show tonight, under your watch if I beat the hell out of a 70-year-old man? AJ says, you're too scared to fight Cena. What makes me think you're going to fight Vince? AJ's getting a little but she's still hot, so she can be on my TV. We replay Antonio Cesaro slamming Brodus Clay from last week, which makes me a happy kid. Antonio Cesaro versus Tyson Kidd is our U.S. title-related match of the night. Antonio grounds Kidd, starts working on the arm right from the beginning of the match. We have a brief spurt where there's a lot of high-flying from Kidd, eventually gets grounded by Antonio again. Gut-wrench suplex leads into a cravat by Antonio. Kidd gets hung up in the ropes. Kidd uses the ropes a lot for a lot of springboard pin combination type maneuvers. The mid-air uppercut, which I know used to be called the Slice Death or the Swiss Death or whatever it was in FCW NXT, but when you come to WWE, you're brand new in WWE, so that move doesn't have a name yet in the WWE. But the mid-air uppercut and the neutralizer gets Antonio the win. I would have liked to see Tyson Kidd get to look a little nicer in this match, but it is great to see him on Raw as opposed to not seeing him at all and having him be trapped on NXT. Antonio Cesaro continues to impress me week by week. Oh, yes. Ziggler and Alberto Del Rio versus Team Hell No. Ziggler and Bryan start off the match. Ziggler's starting to look really, really good against Bryan. Vicky and Ricardo fight on the outside, which is amusing. Bryan and Kane double team Alberto Del Rio. Kane works over Alberto Del Rio's arm. Kane hits a low drop kick on Dolph Ziggler. Ziggler comes back with mounted punches in the corner on Kane. Bryan and Ziggler fight to the outside. Kane hits a big boot on Ziggler. These are only the high points of the match. I'm not going to go move by move, blow by blow, but this is the best thing. There's a neat little spot here, because Daniel Bryan tries to go for a top rope Hurricane Rana, and it's countered into a roll-up by Ziggler, which gets a near fall. Neckbreaker by Ziggler on Bryan. Alberto Del Rio beats down Bryan in the corner some more. Alberto Del Rio and Ziggler double-team Bryan for a while. Ziggler hits the famous and gets a near fall on Kane, but eventually it all works out to a choke slam, and Team Hell No gets the win, which is fine. I'm a fan of Del Rio, I'm a fan of Ziggler, but the tag team should win a tag team match. They maybe should have thought of that when they put the brackets for the tournament together, but whatever. Another thing I really question, why the hell was Larry King on Raw tonight? Larry King has a segment of Larry King now on the stage on Raw. Announces The Miz. Miz comes out and announces that it's his birthday, so he wants Larry King and his wife, who's there for God knows what reason, to sing him happy birthday. King says, nobody really cares that it's your birthday, I'm replacing you with a much more entertaining opponent. Brings out Kofi Kingston. Kofi Kingston kisses Larry King's ass for a while, kisses the crowd's ass. Miz tells off everybody involved, gets a drink in the face from Larry King's wife. Kofi jumps The Miz and tosses him off the stage, and they brawl to the back. Only thing I can get from that is that Kofi's going to be the next contender for the Intercontinental Championship, because it's been announced on WWE.com in one of their backstage exclusives things that after losing the titles, Team Arboom is disintegrating. Like all the other thrown together teams will disintegrate, and we will go back to not recognizing proper tag teams. But that's another video for another time. If this is leading into Kofi Kingston versus The Miz for the Intercontinental Championship, no problem at all. Santino and Ryder versus Rhodes Scholars in the last quarterfinal match in the tag team tournament. And I didn't write anything. I want you to see what I wrote. Santino and Ryder versus the Rhodes Scholars. I just wrote sadness. That's what I wrote for this match. The match was boring as fuck, first of all. Second of all, I'm a fan. Okay, Ryder's a goofball, but I'm a fan of his because when he does get going, he's a good wrestler. Why the hell is he saddled with Santino Marella? Just saying. Why are these kind of teams thrown together when there are legit teams that were left out of the tournament completely? And Cody Rhodes, who should be going for a world title, there I fucking said it, is saddled with Damian Sangoof, who's about as entertaining as last week's Laundry. Sadness. Sadness, sadness, sadness. The Rhodes Scholars win. Rhodes Scholars versus Sin Cara and Rey Mysterio is the finals. And yeah, anybody that's read the spoilers know how this is going, and I'm already not impressed. The beautiful thing about this is, out of nowhere, Encore, which is Heath Slater's new group with Jinder Mahal and Drew McIntyre, come down and beat the living crap out of Santino after the match for no apparent reason whatsoever. That made me smile. Heyman goes to have a meeting with Vince, tries to convince him not to have the match, da-da-da-da-da. Ends off the conversation with, if you go through with this match tonight, Punk's gonna do to you what Brock Lesnar just did to your son-in-law. I liked that. It got a nice little ooh from the crowd. It was cool. Eve versus Caitlyn, Divas Championship. Caitlyn, early on in the match, it's not a torture rack, but it was a torture rack-like backbreaker on Eve. Hits a backbreaker. Somewhere in the process of hitting the backbreaker, she re-injures her foot. Eve works over the foot for the rest of the match. A combination ankle lock and grapevine gets the win for Eve, showing that a diva has some submission prowess. I like that a lot. Layla jumps up from the commentary booth where she was all match to defend Caitlyn after the match from Eve, who all of a sudden, snaps out of it and remembers that she's supposed to be a good person. And we're developing quite a triangle between these three over the Divas title, and I like it a lot. See what happens when we get rid of Kelly Kelly. Oh, yes. The ones that can actually wrestle will get a chance to wrestle and have storylines and feuds and proper shit. Ta-ta, Jane Cena. Vince McMahon versus CM Punk. This was never going to be a match, was it? Like, let's be honest. Punk jumps Vince, in the entranceway while he's making his entrance. Vince gets a double leg on Punk once they get into the ring, and they brawl all over the ground for a while. Vince eats desk on the outside, but somehow gets Punk to eat the ring post. Vince tosses Punk over the commentator table, starts beating Punk over the head with a microphone. Then he takes one of the commentator chairs that's on wheels and wheels it into Punk's nuts. So that was a nice little funny comedy spot, I guess. Gets a kendo stick, Punk bails out. Here we go. And here's, From here on in is where everybody else out there that wants to look for a reason to shit on this is going to shit on this, but I still found it entertaining. Was it a good match? No. Did it build to anything? No. But it was entertaining, so everybody get the fuck over it. That's what I'm going to say about that. McMahon takes the WWE title belt from Paul Heyman after decking Paul Heyman, leaves it in the ring, stands over it with a kendo stick, almost Sandman style. Yes, I know that's sacrilegious to say, but that's what it reminded me of. And says if you want your belt, basically come back and get it. Punk gets a kendo stick. They have dueling kendo sticks for a while the crowd gives us an ECW chant. Oh, yes. Low blow by Punk, kendo stick beat down by Punk on Vince. Ryback steps in just before he can hit the GTS, and a one-armed John Cena, because he's Superman, tosses Punk back into Ryback. Punk easily escapes the shell shock by Ryback, and looking at the 3-on-1 advantage, takes a bail into the crowd and leaves. Vince grabs a microphone and says, yeah, you do have a lot of choices going into Hell in the Cell. You will be defending the title. You have a week to decide whether it's going to be Ryback or Cena, and we're going to go from there. So my assumption is by next week, WWE is going to know whether Cena's good to go for Hell in the Cell or not, and Punk, in his own way, is going to be announcing whether John Cena's been cleared to wrestle or not. Now, apparently, while he was escaping into the crowd, I didn't see this, because by that point I was just, thinking about what I was going to say to you guys, quite frankly. But apparently on his way out, CM Punk decked a fan in the face twice. And did it, broadly, right in front of the camera. And I'm thinking, first of all, that would be a dumb thing to do if it was legit. Second of all, if he was going to do it legit, I'm pretty sure he's not going to do it with a camera in his face. So, guys, chill the fuck out. It was probably a plant. Or, other option that nobody is considering, you see Punk wail out on this guy. For all you know, this guy hates Punk and he's a psycho fan and pulled a knife that nobody saw. So he could have been acting in defense, or more logically, more likely, the guy was a plant. It's not unheard of. Santino Marella got his WWE contract started as a fan that came out of the crowd to fight somebody. So let's not count all our chickens. Let's not throw up all hope, throw up the white flag. Oh my god, they're going to get rid of Punk. We're going to get Cena as the champion again. Da-da-da-da-da. Cena's going to be the champion sometime between now and WrestleMania. You need to suck it up and get over that. But if it leads to where I want it to lead, which is, Rock winning it from Cena, and then Punk winning the Rumble, and going on from there, for anything good to happen at WrestleMania, sadly, John Cena has to hold the title sometime between now and WrestleMania. The other thing I would like to see is if Cena is the champion by Mania, there's one way I would accept that. If we don't get the whole Punk Rock thing, whatever, there's one other thing I will accept. John Cena and CM Punk, as much as it kills me to admit this, and guys, you guys all know how I feel about John Cena. You all do. And if you don't, go back to a couple of videos I did called Cenapocalypse. But, if this got down to Punk versus Cena at Mania, I would have to admit that it is basically the rivalry in wrestling right now. So that would make sense. I wouldn't like it, because it's, Cena dominating the main event scene once again, but I would have to swallow it a little bit, swallow my pride, swallow the bile that would build in my system, and I would have to admit, John Cena versus CM Punk is the rivalry right now. So if it ends up happening at WrestleMania, I won't have a problem with that. Hell, Austin versus Rock was the rivalry 10 years ago. What happened? It took up 3 WrestleManias. I'd rather see that than Rock Cena again. I'd rather see just about anything than Rock Cena again. I would rather see Rock Cena Punk triple threat match. I would rather see Punk Rock. I would rather see Punk Cena than Cena Rock. Just putting it out there. Anyways, that's all. That is all. Score fail in MVP, because I'm not even done yet. It is fucking 10 after 2, guys. Fuck this shit. Score. Punk telling off Vince at the beginning of the show was fantastic. Me retelling it like I do when I do these reviews doesn't do it any justice, but anybody that watches Punk, knows what a Punk promo is like, already knows that. The tag team tournament continues. Like I say, I might not like the teams that are progressing in this tournament because they're all the mashed together teams, and all the mashed together teams are getting put over by the legit teams, and that's kind of shitty, but I still like the fact that we have so much focus on the tag team division right now that there is a tournament, there is something we are following, it's got more than one segment a night, it's being given some importance. It's so important that John Cena even had to mention it. Barrett versus Sheamus. Eventually this will be for the title. I guarantee it. If they put the belt on Big Show, I'll be pissed. When they put the belt on Ziggler, I will be fine with that. But no matter which one comes first, Barrett and Ziggler will be your next two World Heavyweight Champions, for sure. Antonio Cesaro keeps being impressive. I don't know the guy very well because he's relatively new, but he impresses me every week. And the Antonio-Tyson Kidd feud that we've seen more than once now, if that became a title match at a pay-per-view, I wouldn't mind at this point. Because it's decent, and it's not totally overbooked, it's just these guys go, you know, do what they do. And it's somebody that's not Santino or Brodus Clay or any of the other goofballs, which is fantastic. The suggestion or the beginnings of a Miz Kofi feud over the Intercontinental title, same thing. I'm glad we have no more R-Boom. Let R-Truth go do his comedy thing because he's good at the comedy shit. Let Kofi Kingston go be a high flyer, get everybody going, get everybody pumped up, let everybody pop for the high spots type guy. Let him go do that because he's good at that. The two of them separately have places in the WWE. Together, I hated them as a team. But if Kofi's next move is to go up against The Miz for the Intercontinental Championship, hey, Miz needs another victory under his belt anyway. Encore beating down Santino. Now, yes, Encore is basically the new Job Squad, but it's funny. Because I give a shit more about those three guys than I do about Santino, for sure. Anybody that watches NXT knows how good Jinder Mahal can be when they let him show it. Heath Slater, I'm sorry, he's an entertaining guy, and he ain't bad in the ring either. Drew McIntyre should be a champion. He's a jobber. Like, that's where they have him. Along with Jinder Mahal, who's a jobber because that's where they have him. But they could be so much more if WWE admitted how good they were. And the fact that they beat down Santino just makes me smile because Santino should be drafted to the unemployment line. The whole Eve, Layla, Caitlyn triangle, we have such a three-way story surrounding the Divas title. The next Big Four pay-per-view, I believe, is Survivor Series next month. If we get to Survivor Series and we get a triple threat with these three ladies for the Divas Championship on a pay-per-view, that will be a Divas match worthy of me not calling it a piss break. For sure. Once again, I say, get rid of Kelly, get rid of the Bellas, and the next one that's got to get the axe is Alicia Fox. I will admit that. Deluxe Man, there's your shot for the night. Get all the useless tits out of the way. And when I say useless tits, I don't mean literally that your tits are useless. It's just, they are, all four of them, useless tits. Moving on. Get them out of the way, and we have a pretty decent Divas Series. Am I saying it's fantastic? Am I saying it's Trish versus Lita? No. But we are making steps. It's like the tag team division. Is it fantastic? Is it Hardys versus Edge and Christian? No. But it's a whole lot more prevalent than it was 6 months ago. Same thing for the Intercontinental title. Same thing for the US title, for that matter. And you know what? For all the guys that say nothing's going on in the WWE, no progress is being made, nobody's changed anything, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, it's because they're not getting earth-shattering bullshit, earth-shattering, life-changing things every minute of every show. I'm sorry, you go ahead and write a show that's got earth-shattering, life-changing moments every segment for 3 hours. You can't do it. Is WWE's writing lacking a lot of the time? Do they throw us a lot of bullshit? Absolutely. But you're not going to get silver and gold falling all around your shoulders every segment of every show. And you shouldn't, because you will be exhausted as a viewer, as a consumer, as a wrestling fan, if it's that intense the whole 3 hours. It's the same as a pay-per-view. Why do you think they would stick like a bullshit six-man tag or a bullshit Divas match between the two title matches? It's because if they don't, you as the viewer, you as the consumer, will be mentally and visually, or whatever else you want to say it, exhausted. For those of you that don't get it, get it. Fails. John Cena. Who's surprised that John Cena is in my fail column? Oh, yes. Gotta love the fact that John Cena basically took out every division in his opening you know, tirade there. Ripped on the U.S. champ, ripped on the Divas division and the tag division. Basically, like I said before, he's doing his best Christian impression. I just want one more match. I haven't done anything to deserve it other than sit here with my gimpy arm with all the fucked up black tape all over it and shit. I may have only one arm, I may be completely disabled, and I may use that as an excuse when I lose again, but I definitely deserve one more match because I'm John Cena, god damn it. Doesn't quite work that way. WWE sacrificing the good tag teams they do have to put over singles guys. I don't like it. Because all the mashup teams are the ones that are progressing in the tournament, which is kind of shitty, even though I like the tournament, and the tournament is going okay. All the legit teams lost in the first round. Let's be honest. The legit teams that are in the WWE, Primo and Epico, the Usos, Kid and Gabriel, Primetime Players. I'll give you Sin Cara and Rey Mysterio are getting there. They are getting there. But their match tonight was boring as fuck. So now that they've jobbed all the decent tag teams out of the tag team tournament, they've gone back to using the decent tag teams as filler, as fodder for the guys that they're trying to push. They need to push Antonio Cesaro, so they pull Tyson Kidd out of his tag team to job out to Antonio Cesaro, even though it was a good match. They job out Epico and Primo as a team to Ryback. Now, yes, Ryback's destroying everybody. He's WWE's Goldberg. He's the next big face, along with John Cena and Sheamus. I get it. Use some of the mashup teams. Use some of the guys from NXT if you want to. Use some of the guys that are on, like, use your I don't know, your JTGs and your Yoshitatsus if you want to have 2-on-1 handicap matches. Don't sacrifice these legit teams. These teams that were fighting on the pre-show of WrestleMania last year, now they're jobbing out to one guy. It's so backwards. Job out the mashup teams in the tournament, let the legit teams go through the tournament, then the mashup teams can be used to put over other guys like Ryback or whoever. That's just me. The whole dance party with Brodus Clay and R-Truth and Little Jimmy and the Funkadactyls was so fucking pointless. And I'm so glad. I'm sorry, if anybody wanted to put Vince McMahon over as a face, he was put over as a face the minute he stopped that. The whole Larry King Live thing was just unnecessary. They could have done that as a Miz TV segment. He could have called down Kofi Kingston, called him out on the WWE exclusive on him not being as part of a tag team anymore, talking about how he's irrelevant, da-da-da-da, and he could have just attacked him on Miz TV. And it would have been more insulting because he was insulting him on his own show. It would have been nice, it would have been more clean-cut, it would have been simple, and it would have worked. But no, WWE needs to grab whatever B or C-list celebrities they can get because they think it's going to get them some traction with people that aren't already wrestling fans, and I don't get it. Anyways, Fave 5. Punk tells off Vince, slaps Vince in the face, beats up Vince for a little while, and only leaves when the odds become 3-on-1. That's a pretty good night for Punk. I don't care what all the naysayers are saying right now. Oh, Punk's turned into such a pussy, da-da-da. I want to see you stand up to John Cena and Ryback and fucking Vince McMahon. Just saying, because as soon as you're associated with John Cena, your invincibility rubs off from him. So it's like, yeah. Plus he's a heel, plus, you know, he had to do the whole go whack a fan in the face thing. Miz got jumped by Kofi on Larry King. This will go into his next rivalry. He'll beat Kofi and everything will be all good again. Orton wasn't on the show. I think they're pretty much trying to make Orton the anchor for interest on SmackDown, which is why we're not seeing him on Raw too much. That's only my opinion. It's only my guess. Don't hold me to it. And if I am wrong, please don't come down and shower down hellfire and brimstone on my head. That would be great. Rhodes progresses in the tag team tournament. Unfortunately, he drags Sandow with him. Ziggler lost to Team Hell No, which makes sense. He looked great in the match. Hell, okay. I will say this. Thrown together tag team match. Ziggler, Alberto Del Rio, and Team Hell No, which as much as people want to deny it, they are still a thrown-together tag team. All four of them look fantastic in this match. Alberto Del Rio and Ziggler didn't lose anything by losing this match because they're two singles guys in a tag team environment. Ziggler lost, but he lost to the tag team champions. So, it is a loss. It is a shot to his record, or, you know, the invisible record that sort of floats above everybody's head, you know, the W's and the L's, the wins and the losses. Yes, it is a loss in his column, but it's not a very detrimental one if you ask me. Look at the singles run he's been on, retiring Chris Jericho, etc., and having great matches with Orton, etc. So yeah, the Fave 5 had an average night tonight, I guess. And I want to say this because this is kind of exciting. Brand new to the list of people that I have noted as the MVP of the night. No, it's not Punk. No, it's not The Miz. No, it's not anybody that you would traditionally expect me to have as the MVP of the night. For his match against the World Heavyweight Champion tonight, my MVP of the night actually is going to Wade Barrett. He did fantastic, and when he's in that title chase in a more prominent way, he's not going to look a step out of place. I don't think. I just hope we get there sooner rather than later. Anyways, that's been Raw. Guys, check me out later this week. I'm going to be introducing to you the shit list. Wonder what the shit list is? Check me out later this week. Anyways, I've been Spaz. Subscribe up there. Talk down there. Start a conversation. Keep this conversation going. Don't be a stranger. I will talk to each and every last one of you later. But for right now, I'm tagging out. Bye, guys.
Get up, come on,